Okay, so once again we are live, and today I have to unbox for you Mr. Freeze. Yes. Again, like I said, he's one of my favorite Batman villains. Again, like I said, this is probably my least favorite design for this character, but it's the one Spin Master keeps insisting on doing. So if you've watched my review of the 3 3/4 inch Mr. Freeze figure, that was in the set with the Bat Tech aircraft and the all teched up Batman figure with the jetpack and the grenade launcher and the ninja sword. I really like that Batman figure, mainly for the accessories. Like the figure itself is okay, but the accessories are awesome. I can put them on the regular Batman, and then he's a Batman with a jetpack and a grenade launcher and a ninja sword. So that's all really cool. But yeah, Spin Master made this Mr. Freeze figure, and it's based on the new 52 design, which I hate because it doesn't have sleeves. But at least they improved on it, like with the 3 3/4 inch figure, by not having that stupid little emo tuft of hair in the front. I don't know like what it was with the new 52 and giving characters emo hair, but they sure did like to do that. But as a special treat for you today, I have an earlier 12-inch Mr. Freeze figure, which is, I think Mattel did an original design with this, although it does seem, pretty inspired by various Mr. Freeze designs we've already seen. It's got an armored up look like the Kelly Jones version, and it's got, the goggles and everything like with the Batman the Animated Series version. So we're going to compare and contrast the two 12-inch Mr. Freeze figures, and we're going to decide who is the king of cool. Yes. So let's go ahead and get started. So we got some cross-cell artwork on the back, photograph of the Mr. Freeze figure, and some characters that are in this line. We already went over this with the Joker figure that I did recently, but we'll go over it again real quick. I think it is slightly different. Like at least the three Batmans at the top are slightly different. So there's Batman, Bat Tech Batman, and Metal Tech Batman. So he is a technician when it comes to metal. I actually still have the Joker package here that I was too lazy to throw away. So the one that's different is the one on the end because we have Attack Tech Batman and Metal Tech Batman. So he was really into techno at this time, I guess. And then at the bottom, it's different because the Mr. Freeze figure has Mr. Freeze on it. So don't miss the Mr. Freeze figure that you just bought. It does not have the Riddler. It does not have Nightwing. And it has a different Joker in a black suit rather than the Joker in the traditional purple suit. So this one has, at the bottom, it has Joker, Riddler, and Nightwing. And this one has Robin, who looks to have like some tech junk on his suits and that glowy blue Tron stuff. And black suited Joker and Mr. Freeze, with who we are going to open Mr. Freeze right now. And I will stop doing my terrible Arnold Schwarzenegger impression at some point. I'll probably start doing it again. You never know. So let's go ahead and open them up. And this is the old school Spin Master package where we have like a couple of different cards sandwiched around this bubble. And in a rarity for 12-inch figures, he does come with his freezing gun. A lot of the times these 12-inch figures don't come with any accessories whatsoever, but he does include a freezing gun. And that gives him an edge over the Mattel figure, which did not have any accessories whatsoever. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Alan, you just showed us the figure and he clearly had a freeze gun. Is that when you got off another figure or something? No, I meant what I said. This figure comes with no accessories. This is not an accessory. This is actually molded onto his hand and not removable. So at least you're not going to lose it. At least the kid does not have to worry about losing Mr. Freeze's freeze gun. Because then, how am I supposed to freeze things without my freezing gun? So there's the freeze gun. And remember what I was talking about, how like if there was any character it would make sense to give him translucent blue accessories, it would be Mr. Freeze. Well, there we go. We got a translucent blue freezing gun. And you might say, well, it doesn't make much sense for him to have a translucent blue freezing gun because shouldn't it be like, metal. Maybe the black one that is permanently attached to the Mattel figure makes a little more sense. And yeah, it does. But if I was a kid, I would still think having like see-through accessories was really cool. I always wished that the Star Wars figures that I had when I was a kid had translucent lightsabers. So even though that would make more sense than having a translucent gun, but whatever. Kids can still have some fun with that and have some imagination. And he does hold on to it very nicely. But for now, let's take it out of his hand and set it aside. And we're going to look at the rest of the figure. And despite the fact that I hate this costume for Mr. Freeze because of the lack of sleeves, I do really like the color choices on here. We've got like some metallic gunmetal gray for the breastplate. And he does have kind of like some rudimentary tanks sculpted into the back. They're a little flat, probably because they want them to fit in that coffin-like package as easily as possible. You can see them more fully realized on the 3 3/4 inch figure, but they're just kind of like relief sculpted on here. Like, well enough that a kid, I suppose, could use his imagination or her imagination. So it's nice that they're on here. Going back to the Mattel figure for a second, this Mr. Freeze has no freezing tanks whatsoever. There's none included with the figure. There's none sculpted onto the figure. Nothing. So, so far, I'm going to give on a completely unscientific scale ranking thing that I'm coming up with on the fly. So far, I'm giving the Spin Master figure 2 points. One for actually having tanks for his suit, and one for having a gun that's an actual accessory and not just something that's molded onto his hand. And I'm going to give the Mattel Mr. Freeze so far 2 points for not being based on the crappy New 52 design, which was around at that time. They could have easily done this design if they wanted to. They chose not to. So I'm giving it 2 points just for that. So right now they're tied. Let's have a look at their articulation, which I haven't really, done too much with the articulation on this one yet. But I'm assuming they're mostly going to be the same. I think Mattel might have a slight edge, and I'll get around to why that is in a second. I could be wrong about that. We're going to find out. So his arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder and move up about this far. His elbows rotate all the way around this way and bend at a 90-degree angle. And then the wrists rotate all the way around. Legs move up about yay far. Knees move down about that far. And he does have the little side joints here, so he can do the splits no problem. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the articulation on this bad boy. That's pretty much, the standard sort of articulation for these figures, except for the head. This helmet is not removable. It's solidly attached on there, and there's no way to move his head. Even if his head had a joint on there, which I don't see a joint on there at all, no way to move his head. Now, one other thing that I've noticed about this figure that's kind of strange is if you look closely, and hopefully you can see this even on the camera, there is actually like a collar sculpted in underneath the helmet, but it's the same color as the rest of his skin. So that's an odd detail. And if he did have a removable helmet, I'd be able to, take off the helmet and paint it, make it not look so strange. But not an option, really. So Mr. Freeze from Mattel, likewise, his arms rotate all the way around this way, and they only move up about that far. So not quite as good as the Spin Master, because he's got these kind of shoulder plates that get in the way. Now his arms rotate all the way around the elbow. Because of the way the elbow is shaped, though, it's like they only bend up about that far when they're turned to the back. But you don't really want to bend it that way anyway. That's unnatural. Bends up at like a 90-degree angle. His wrists do rotate all the way around, even though he has a gun molded into his hand. Legs move up about that far. Knees bend about that far. And he can do the splits no problem. So that's cool. So now, I would wind up judging that one slightly higher than this one, just because his shoulders can move up at like a 90-degree angle, and this guy can barely manage like a 30-degree angle or something. I'm not a mathematician. They don't go up very far, is what I'm saying. But this guy is still going to win the articulation contest. And you know why? Yes, his helmet comes off. Put it back on before I die. I have to leave it at 0 degrees below freezing. I don't even know what that means, Mr. Freeze. What's 0 degrees below freezing? It means I need to be cool at all times. Put the helmet back on. Let's give it a minute. All right. So since you can remove Mr. Freeze's helmet, you can turn his head. Hey, look at that. So we can get a little more posability out of him. I'm serious. Put my helmet back on before I die. You know, you look very much like an 80s techno rocker when you don't have your helmet on. I'll go ahead and put it back on for you. There we go. All right. So, and also, this Mr. Freeze has his neck is painted black all the way up. So we don't have that weird collar thing going on that we've got going on with that other Mr. Freeze. So I'm going to give this guy 1 point for articulation because it's good articulation. But I'm going to give this guy 1.5 points of articulation, or points for his articulation, because it's slightly better. And I'm going to give him another half a point because it turns out he actually has an extra accessory since this helmet is removable. Put this back on. God, you're so whiny. There we go. All right, so there we go. There we go. All right. So, so far, I think this Mr. Freeze is doing a little bit better than his Spin Master counterpart. So, what else is there to judge by? Well, there's colors. And like I said, I really like the colors on this one, but I also really like the colors on this one. And this one is mostly an original design. It does seem, if you compare the two, to be kind of at least slightly based on the new 52 design, because it does have a lot of the same lines and stuff. But on the other hand, color-wise, it looks much more similar to me like the Kelly Jones design of Mr. Freeze. Like if they'd done, his arms and his tummy, I guess, for lack of a better term, and his boots in that kind of metallic light blue plastic, then it probably would have looked a lot more like Mr. Freeze as Kelly Jones drew him. But as it is, it looks mainly to me like an original design that took some influence from both Kelly Jones and Batman, the animated series, which of course is the two best versions of Mr. Freeze. Not just in terms of the visuals, but in terms of the character. Those are the ones that to me, I felt like most got it right. Now, the new 52 version of Mr. Freeze, I did not like the design of this version of the character. I thought it was kind of dumb that he had bare arms. Like, I think there's some explanation is, oh, well, the suit still keeps him cold even when his arms aren't covered up. Yeah, you know what would probably work better? Just to cover up his arms. I'm just saying, it was not a very good design. Now, that having been said, Spin Master still took off my least favorite part of this Mr. Freeze design, which is that dopey little emo tuft of hair thing there. And I'm not just saying that because I'm jealous that I can't grow that hair anymore. Even if I could, I certainly wouldn't grow it in that hairstyle because it just looks so weak. So I'm not a fan of that. I do like that this is like a bit more of a sleek design of Mr. Freeze. You know, like I think it was really with the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that they got really into that sort of overly armored design of the character. And this one kind of harkens back to the early Silver Age, like his very first appearance where he basically just had like a green spandex bodysuit with red boots and gloves and like a fishbowl on his head. And that was enough to keep him cold, apparently. So this one is back to that sort of spandexy sort of look with almost more like some scuba gear attached to it to keep him cold. So I do kind of like that sleekness, but I think I would have liked it a lot better if it had sleeves. I'm just saying. That and they just like really ruined his origin in the annual where they first introduced him, and like, you know, it turned out like Nora wasn't even like somebody that he really knew. It was just some frozen corpse of somebody that he'd never met and became obsessed with her. And you know, the idea that Mr. Freeze is somebody who's mainly motivated by him trying to keep his wife alive, desperately trying to keep his wife alive, and that's what causes his origin. That just gives the character a lot of humanity and pathos. Pathos, however you say that, I hear it pronounced both ways. Maybe it may both work. I like pathos. I'm gonna say pathos. So yeah, it's like taking that away from him just took away a lot of like what made the character work, and why when Paul Dini reinvented Mr. Freeze for the animated series, that was when the character really became popular and when people really got into the character. And the new 52 version of it just took that away, and that was pretty weak in my opinion. Sorry, it's really hot here today, and it's no coincidence that I decided to do a character based around ice, because right now I wish I could trade places with him. Oh man, and the first part of August was like fairly mild, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. And then all of a sudden it just got really, really hot again. So I'm over the heat. I'm very over the heat. So despite my criticisms of this figure, and I definitely think the Mattel version is superior. I don't want anybody to make any mistake. If you could get them both for the same price, buy the Mattel figure. But I have a feeling, I haven't looked recently, I have a feeling he's going to be a lot more expensive than this guy, especially because, as you can see from the package, I got mine at Ollie's for $4.99. So for that price, I couldn't pass him up. Even though he's not my favorite design, he's still one of my favorite Batman villains, and I definitely wanted to have him in my collection. But I am glad that I do have the Mattel figure, because the Mattel figure is superior somewhat. But if I wasn't able to get the Mattel figure, I think I'd be pretty happy with this guy representing Mr. Freeze in my collection. Although I might try to repaint his arms. I don't know. I still might do that. I also noticed the strap for his goggles does not go all the way around. So he just kind of wears his goggles like they're glasses. And the Mattel version actually does have where the goggles go all the way around. So that's kind of interesting. Just a little something to note. Now I'm wondering if the 3 3/4 inch figure had that, because I didn't really notice for that. No, the 3 3/4 inch figure is he's got a strap that goes all the way around his goggles. And it's also funny to me that they have two completely different designs of freeze guns. This is probably something they just reused from another figure, so they wouldn't have to give him a freeze gun. I should probably check the gun that came with Killer Moth and see if that's the same. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you found it to be cool. So we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. If you hated hearing me do a lousy Arnold Schwarzenegger impression through the whole episode, please make sure to hit the thumbs down button, because any engagement is good. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.